this week's edition of Mike's Pickems Challenge. We're going to be predicting every game all season long, including every game of Week 10. I'm joined with Joe Morley, Tony Tucker. We're going to give all of our picks right after this short break. As you guys can see, the standings are posted on the screen. Someone has been in first for this entire year and remains in first and will remain in first for the rest of the season. But Tony, how are you doing today? From the cell phone today.
Fuck off. You're a lying sack of shit. You were not in first to start the season. You cheat. Joe cheats. Joe's like, well, sometimes I forget to put in my picks on Thursday. But you guys know who I picked. I picked the winners because all I do is pick winners. I am the only honest person on this show. And if we go back, you guys are calling me a cheater for not giving exact record predictions. But at least when we go on record, I am honest, Abe, when it comes to this is my record right there. I'm very proud of it. There's no shame in being in last place because all of my answers are submitted before Thursday, and they rarely change. Although I did take the Jaguars after the game started last night. Or before the game started, but after we made our picks on Thursday.
I hate changing my picks, and I've only done it on the record, and I've done it on the show 2 times. And then, yes, I did forget to enter some of the picks on the website until after Thursday, but we've always had our picks for the show on Wednesday.
I have now officially missed entire weeks on the website. So the website, throw it out the window. What you see on the screen here, we're going to track week to week, and Tony's going to trip me up one of these weeks and discredit my entire season. I can already see it coming.
Well, because
Tony, you're 5 games back. You're 5 games back. You can go ahead and trip me up on one game as much as you want. Joe, you deserve some credit because if you weren't a Raiders fan and a Lions fan, you would be smoking both of us right now.
Yeah, and the last 2 weeks, I've been on fire, especially the last 2 weeks. Like last week, 11-2. I think the week before I missed 4. And most of them are Raiders and Lions, like you said.
So I want everybody to go back. And you don't have to watch everything. But the first 8 weeks, Joe was 500. And now all of a sudden, Joe's like 27 games over 500. Every week he was 8-8. 8-8. He's like, he'd come on the show, be like, how'd I go 8-8 again? And now he's 37 games over 500. Mike over there is like, well, I don't answer my picks, the full slate of them, but I'm 97 games over 500. I'm the only one who enters them on Thursday. This is my bullshit record right here.
I picked on Tuesday nights, Tony, every Tuesday night on the TikTok page. If you guys want to go and follow or enter the challenge, you can go and check it out right now. Tony,
I've had a winning record every week since week 5. So my first 4 weeks were 800, and then after that I had either 1 or 2 games, and then last week, Tony, when I gained 9 wins in 1 week, it helps out a ton.
Cheaters. I'm playing with cheaters. Let's just go move on to the show. I'm not going to change. You guys are going to change my opinion. You guys are all of a sudden going to be telling me that you're honest. It's in my mind already. You guys are cheating me.
Either way, I'm the best.
I can't wait to get a pick on Sunday night. So which picks are you changing today, Mike? After all the games have already been decided. We're going to get into it. We're going to go over every game this week for Week 10 real quick. You guys are watching a replay. Please like the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already. Turn on notifications so you can be here when we usually go live for this show and go live for other shows in the future. We will see you guys on those, and there will be a live chat for you to respond to. But starting off here, we did great on this game. Starting off here, Seattle on the road.
Sorry, Harrison. I wanted to go with the Panthers. I actually did go with the Panthers. They just didn't change it on it.
The Seattle Seahawks are traveling. Screw that game. That game did not matter. We didn't lose that game. That game.
Another horrible Thursday night game.
Yeah, it doesn't count. Thursday night games don't count anymore. We got the Seattle Seahawks on the road in Tampa against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, except for they're not playing in Tampa. They're playing in Germany, and that has me teetering with changing this pick a little bit. But, Tony, what's your opinions on Seattle Seahawks, Geno Smith, playing Tampa Bay in Germany?
All right, so this is going to be the first of many apologies that will be offered up. I was so wrong on the Seahawks this year. They're a good football team. I don't know where it came from. I don't know what's happening, but it seems like all you really need is competent quarterback play and a good defensive strategy to win in the NFL this year, which is absolutely insane. And maybe it's because every pick that they hit on has been coached up and they're using them just well enough. Two offensive linemen that they drafted, they're from like passing college offenses and they're running the football at an elite level. So that's got to be coaching there. Pete's got all the defensive picks they got, uh, playing really nice football over there. So I just look at the Seahawks and I'm like, I don't know how you're doing it. I don't know if it's sustainable. Like maybe they finish in last place next year and I was just a year ahead on the full rebuild. But the Seahawks are just a better all-around football team. Why would I pick the Bucs when they got lucky to beat the Rams last week? Like the Rams defense did everything they should have to win the game, and the Bucs got lucky. So the Seahawks is the only logical choice to me here. I don't care where the game is played. Both teams have to travel, and the Seahawks have a better football team.
Joe?
Yeah, and Geno Smith said it was so good to not do, they just slept and stuff on the plane there, and then they did their exercises when they got off the plane. So that's a big difference for Seattle. And then their whole wristband gate going on, that they wear wristbands on the field, so that kind of helps them out. But I don't know. Tampa Bay has been horrible this year, and I just think Seattle's running game is too much for him, for Tampa Bay.
Yeah, and we're starting to see some cracks in the Tampa Bay defense. They were good against the Rams, but overall this year, they haven't been what they've needed to be. The offensive line hasn't been what they've needed to be, and we know Tom Brady is kind of a sitting duck in the pocket when he doesn't have time to make his reads and deliver the football. I'm going with Seattle too, also just because I'm sorry to the Seattle fan base. I've been doubting them all year. I've probably lost more than half of the Seattle games this year. And I'm not going to make the same mistake over and over and over again, even though because it's in Germany, I want to look at how many of these young Seattle players have ever played a game outside the country and see if there is maybe a little bit there, knowing Tom Brady's played in like 10 games outside the country. And this whole team is full of veterans in Tampa. Maybe they adjust to the travel a little bit better than the Seattle team does.
I think that you'd be shocked on that number. I think it's probably way less than we think for Tom Brady. Because he's been playing forever and they've been doing the London games. But how many times did they have the Patriots Jaguars in London? Like they didn't really have I would say Brady's maybe played like one or two games outside. Like they never brought because the Patriots were
He's 3-0 in just Germany. I don't know about other games if they played in other places.
What do you I thought this was the first game in Germany ever.
Or 3-0 in Europe. I don't know what it is. He's 3-0 traveling outside the country to play. I know that. But I don't know if he's played in Mexico City or if they played any games in Canada or what's been going on in the early parts of his career.
All right. I don't know. We'll fact check later. Who cares? All we know is the Bucs offensive line is broken, and that's really the huge difference in this game. The fact that they're talking about Rashad White taking over the backfield for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I was like, well, now they're just desperate. Because you're turning to a rookie running back when you just gave Leonard Fournette that money and saying, like, for whatever reason, we need a spark on a team that's coming off a Super Bowl and was right there all the way to the wire last year with the Rams. They need a spark at a position like that. It doesn't make it. It's not adding up nicely for them.
What upsets me is that both of these teams have either the same record or a worse record than my LA Chargers. They're both first in their division in the NFC. Congratulations to you guys. The Minnesota Vikings are going to Buffalo this week. And look at this. Look at Joe. The Minnesota Vikings together. Not copying at all, Joe, on this pick at all. Josh Allen dealing with an elbow injury. Tony, you think he plays fine, or are you rocking with the Bills even with Case Keenum?
I'll stick even if it's Case Keenum. I think this is one of the games where the Bills Mafia is going to propel this team over the top. The atmosphere is that of a primetime game, which I don't pick Kirk Cousins in games where the atmosphere is crazy and out of control. So, yeah, the Vikings on a neutral field, away. If this was a home game for the Vikings, it probably would have went that way. But and maybe the elbow injury is just being blown out of proportion, just because he's been playing bad football. And maybe the organization is like, hey, let's take a little bit of heat off him by saying the elbow is worse than it is. Because I've heard things from it being like just a bump all the way to like potential surgery. So it's like that's a lot of different reporting that's going on. And the Bills, the one thing they need to get back to doing is like they gotta figure out a way to stop the run. The Packers crushed them. James Robinson crushed them last week. And this also, I don't know if we have the Jets this week. I think the Jets are on a bye this week. I would also like to offer an apology to the New York Jets because although the quarterback is not the guy, Robert Saleh on the defense, they're for real. Like the Jets are a good football team for the first time in a decade. So congratulations to the Jets and all of their fans. They're for real. That was a good win.
Look, I was trying to look around, see if I had some chains over here that I could put on and dance like Kirk Cousins right now because the Vikings are the best team in the league. They're going to show that to Bills Mafia. It doesn't matter if Josh Allen plays, doesn't play, hurt, does not hurt. The Vikings coming in there proving the message. But I'd rather see Case Keenum and Diggs try to go back against their old team and relive that miracle. I don't know. I like what the Vikings are doing. I think even if they're winning some of these close games, you just saw last week when they're celebrating that. I think celebrations like that bring the team together just a little bit more, and it seems that they're gelling, and that's keep rolling. That's all they got to do is keep rolling.
Yeah, and it's something with away games in that celebration too. They got a tradition going with away games. One, they do a party on the plane, and they turn it up more and more each time. They're gonna be partying like animals if they can beat the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo. If Josh Allen is on that field, even if he does have a elbow injury, if he has any elbow injury, it's gonna affect him in his throwing arm. But this guy can still run the ball like a maniac, and he still is probably gonna be able to deliver the football, especially with how much separation his wide receivers get. This was a tough game for me. What leaned me towards the Minnesota Vikings, talked to Dalvin Cook, and I asked him straight up, I said, do you think that this week is a Super Bowl preview? And he gave the right answer. He said, I'm not worried about the Super Bowl right now. We're taking it 1 week at a time. We're trying to win every game and put our best into every game. I think the Vikings put their best out there, and an injured Josh Allen or Case Keenum falls to Minnesota. I'm with you, Joe. Let's see some more dancing from Kirk.
Yeah.
You like that, Tony? You like that?
Yeah, they demolished Taylor Heineke in Washington. There's a lot of love for the Vikings this year. I don't know. A little worried about him.
The defense made a good play at the end of the game there on a very great throw by Taylor Heineke.
Joe, what the hell?
Going to the wire with the Fighting Commanders. Wow, that's 7-1. That's impressive.
I feel like the Bills lost to the Jets last week, so you could go the other way as well. The Chicago Bears are on the screen right now. Joe is waving a Chicago Bear flag, but throwing it on the ground in disgust. Joe, you won on the Lions once, right? And I give you credit for calling that game. But that's like if I put a blindfold on, threw 100 darts at a board, and one hits the bullseye. The Lions are going to lose again this week.
No.
How are you still doing that?
See the Detroit Lions take down the powerful team from the Green Bay, Wisconsin? Huh? They took down Aaron Rodgers last week. Then they get who? Some guy named Justin Fields is next? Bring it on. Biden kneecaps, taking it all. Lions winning out the rest of their games.
Just like the Raiders. This will be Raiders-Lions Super Bowl, right?
Something like that.
I would literally die if that happened. Tony, any analysis for this game?
It was a coin flip, and I went with the curse of the Detroit Lions as being the deciding factor. Like they got their Super Bowl victory. They got to beat Aaron Rodgers last week at home, intercept the guy 3 times, all in the money area. The Cowboys game, I thought the Bears could have won that. Like they were right there in that game. They've been playing better. They've figured out something. So they're contingent on the health of Justin Fields' legs, not his arm or whatever, but if the lower body can stay somewhat intact with all the hits that he's taking, the Bears are going to find ways to squeak out games, in my opinion. So I just, field goal game, 29-27 type of a football game here.
Are you guys officially with me now that Justin Fields was the best quarterback out of that draft?
No.
He has more wins, or the same amount of wins, as Trevor Lawrence, the number 1 pick.
I understand. We still have a lot of life left in both these guys.
Yes, exactly. Like, it's just way too early. I would say I've seen more impressive performances from, like Justin Fields has 2, Trevor Lawrence maybe has like 1.5, where it's been like those where I see the future. But I would still, and I will always go this way, I will always take the guy who can do it from the pocket, and I've seen it, over the guy who's like, if you tell me who I want for a 10-year contract, I want the guy that I've seen deliver from the pocket.
Even if it wasn't a great deliveries. But yeah, this is a story of opposites here. The Lions won last week, but the Lions had the number 1 offense in the first 5 weeks of the season. Number 1 out of 32. Right now, they haven't scored 15 points in more than 1 game in their past 4 weeks. I mean, the Lions offense is now struggling. The Lions offense has gone back to being bad. While meanwhile in Chicago, they're heating up. And I'm surprised that this isn't the week that you go against the Lions, Joe. I think that this would be a good one. You get your boy Justin Fields, who is now heating up, starting to realize, like, holy shit, I am an elite athlete on this field, and I can just start running on these guys. On to the next one, though. We got the Denver Broncos on the road, going against the Tennessee Titans, going against Derrick Henry. Tony Tucker, you're with me on the Titans. I do have some concerns for this game, and I'm sure Joe's going to highlight a few of them, but what's your thoughts on the game, Tony?
Ryan Tannehill, is he playing in this game? If he's not playing in this game, I'm probably going to go switch this one to the Broncos. I'm not going to lie. But I think that he's going to give it a shot, and that's enough for me to say, like, he'll find ways to get them into field goal range enough times. I'm also interested to see how the effect of Bradley Chubb leaving the defense. I don't necessarily think like it's that huge. I still think they have 2 good pass rushers, maybe that might even prove to be better. But I'm taking this game because it's at home for the Titans, and I think this is a very low-scoring game where it's 13-10 Titans in this football game. It's going to be the thing that's most interesting to me is what does Nathaniel Hackett and the Broncos look like coming off the bye week? Because if you had 2 weeks to prepare for this game, you should be firing at least on something. Like the offense should have some semblance of like cohesion and understanding. So that's the thing. Because if it looks bad again this week, it's bad news for Nathaniel Hackett for the past this season.
Yeah, and I think that's why I'm with the Broncos, because they've had this long vacation. They've had their bye week. They're getting ready. I think Russell Wilson has nowhere else but up to go in that offense, right? And Tannehill is playing. He's supposed to be playing, or he's upgraded and he's full practice this whole week. I just think the Titans aren't as good of a team as we're making them out to be, and especially like watching them last week. I know they had Malik Willis, but their wide receiver core is hurting real bad. So it's kind of making them one-dimensional, even worse than what we've always known. We've always known they've been a Derrick Henry first, but it's like they've always had a wide receiver at least out there that you had to worry about. Now you're not really worried about Robert Woods anymore or anybody out there. So it's making them the defense go, okay, cool. Now we can focus a little bit more on Derrick Henry, even though Derrick Henry against 8 in the box doesn't matter because Derrick Henry's a beast. I am expecting the Denver Bronco offense to show up this week. How about that? That's my personal opinion in this game, in this matchup, is I think the Denver Bronco offense corrects their stuff, and they actually come out and Russell Wilson looks like the quarterback that the Broncos wanted to acquire in the offseason.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing for me, too. I feel like the Denver defense is probably going to keep Denver in this game. It's just, can the offense put up points? They haven't shown that ability this year yet, and I'll just keep riding that they're not going to ever figure it out until they do figure it out, and then I'll reassess. I think that it's interesting to see what the Broncos are going to do offensively off the bye, like you guys are saying, but also what are they going to do defensively versus Derrick Henry? They're going to sell out to stop this run game. And when they do that, if it's not Ryan Tannehill in there, it's Malik Willis. I actually like the Denver Broncos defense chances of shutting down the Titans offense in that situation. But I got to rock with the Titans until I see it out of the Denver offense.
Bronco country, let's ride.
Because the Titans can win this game 14-10. Don't be shocked if that's the final score of this one.
Riding my pony.
Next game here, we got the Jacksonville Jaguars traveling to Arrowhead, traveling to KC. The Jaguars just beat the Raiders. You guys know this, right? Neither one of you want to take the Jaguars in KC?
Thought about it.
Of course he thought about it, Joe. Any chance for the Jags, Tony?
Sure. I mean, the Chiefs did lose to the Colts. They did, struggle against the team that Joe says is very good in the Titans. I think this game is a little bit closer than I've seen some people give it credit for because they can run the ball with ATN. It's going to come down to Trevor Lawrence when he gets his shots against younger defensive backs. Like if he can get a couple of those to convert, they can keep the game close. But ultimately, I just like a crazy environment. Like I don't think Trevor Lawrence has ever played in a place. Like I know you play big college football games, big atmospheres, but on this stage, going to Arrowhead, it's just got to be so loud and so crazy. It'll be interesting to see, and I think that's the advantage here is for the Chiefs is just being at home and being the better team. But it's not a blowout. Like I don't think that the Jaguars can run out of the stadium.
Joe?
Yeah, I like what the Jaguars are doing with ETN. I saw something like, is ETN like the first one, him and like getting as much carries as like Derrick Henry now, or something like that. That's like right there. But Jacksonville's a good team. We're not knocking Jacksonville. They're a young team, and it just doesn't. They don't have what it takes to put together a full game right now. So they're playing great in spurts. Like when they played the Eagles this year, they were up 10-0 on the Eagles, and everybody was like, "Oh, Jacksonville might pull it off," and they ended up losing that game. Kansas City has a bad thing of playing down to some of their opponents, and I think that's something that can happen in this game where they'll let Jacksonville hang around longer than Jacksonville should. But if you watched the game last week with the Raiders dominated them in the passing game, and then just said, "Oh, you know what? The passing game's not working. Let's give it up," and then try to go back to it later. Where I think Kansas City is just going to keep putting that pressure on you. Juju Smith is having one hell of a season now that Juju and Hardman are now like they got Patrick Mahomes trust and they're just going to go off. It's just going to be a great passing game against them. And that's one thing about Andy Reid is once he finds your weakness, he's not going to give up.
Yeah, I always thought that Hardman was closer to Tyreek Hill than any of the other additions that Chiefs were making. It was Sky Moore and MVS and all these guys. I always felt that McColl already kind of had the tutelage of Tyreek Hill, and he was the one that was going to fill in nicely, and it's starting to come to reality a little bit. I think the biggest thing for the Jaguars is the front seven. If the front seven can't beat a very good Chiefs offensive line, they're done. They have no chance in this game because their secondary is not going to stand up against the Andy Reid offense, against Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Mecole Hardman, Juju Smith-Schuster. They're going to stand zero chance if they're not getting pressure on Mahomes consistently with only 4. I just don't think it's going to happen. It's hard to do against a good O-line consistently throughout a game.
I can see Jacksonville's offense putting up some points in this matchup.
The Chiefs' defense is not stellar. They're good enough, though. We could see like a 31-21 game. I don't know, something like that. It's going to be good rest for Doug Peterson and his young bunch to look at and say, hey, we did good here, we did bad here, we did great there, we did terrible there, and learn from, hopefully, as they continue to rebuild the Jaguars. On to another interesting game that I think is tough to call. You have the Cleveland Browns coming off a big win against Cincy. Then they went to their bye week, are now going to Miami, play the Miami Dolphins, who held on in Chicago last week. Tony, let you go first here. On the Dolphins, on Tua, with me. Is it just like fate that the Dolphins are kind of legit here?
Yeah, the Dolphins are definitely playing offensively better than I thought. And I was really close to going with Joe on this one because I do think Stefanski is good enough and smart enough to realize what worked for him against the Bengals, what's worked for him since he's got there, and that's Nick Chubb. Please understand that this is the guy. And I know that he has like a certain script where he goes like, okay, Nick Chubb's at his like 15, 16 carries. I got to use these last couple wisely. No, bro, that's not how it works. If you need another 8 carries from that guy to close out a football game, then just go ahead, put it in his belly, let him dominate this game. Uh, I'm leaning with the Dolphins just because Tyreek Hill should be mentioned in the MVP conversation. I'm hearing a lot of people going, oh, Tua joined the race. But even when Tua wasn't there or left games early, what's the one constant that has kept this team just moving and moving and moving? And that we need to, as people outside, because the industry is only going to talk about quarterbacks. That's all they ever do. We need to understand, like, then it's our job also, if we're going to do a show, to be saying that Tyreek Hill is an absolute monster. I want to, when we get into our offseason conversations, I always say my 3 favorite wide receivers to talk about as the greatest of all time is Jerry Rice, Randy Moss, Calvin Johnson, right? And I put Sterling Sharp in there, but nobody ever wants to have that conversation with me. Tyreek Hill is also going to enter in that category of players where it's like, look at this. You thought maybe it was Patrick Mahomes. Best player in this game is Tyreek Hill, and I think he makes a difference again this week, and the Dolphins squeeze out a victory here.
Yeah, I think that if Tyreek Hill doesn't have another great season for the rest of the year, he legitimized himself and established himself as an all-time great this year. He already was a Hall of Famer. He already was a part of one of the craziest offenses ever. But to go to Miami with Tua, with other receivers in the offense, and still he's on track to break records this year. Hats off, man. You can't discredit either one of those guys, Patrick Mahomes or Tyreek Hill, anymore. Joe, going with Cleveland though.
I'm going with Cleveland. I don't something about Miami's team. Same thing with the Titans. Yeah, they're winning. They're winning games and they're doing it great. And their offense is clicking when it's clicking. But their defense to me has been sketchy the last couple of weeks. One with Detroit Lions still when they had that shootout where they were going back and forth. And Detroit was putting up points on them. And then even with Chicago and Justin Fields, they had a good day with Miami's defense. Might have even won the game if they would have pass interference was called on Claypool like it should have. So I'm just saying Miami's defense for some reason hasn't been there, and they're for some reason Miami has been getting away with a couple of the mistakes made by Tua and being able to overcome those. And where I think even though Cleveland's not an elite football team, they're good enough to capitalize on some of these plays. And what Cleveland does is they're not going to give you 10, 20 different opportunities because they're going to have their running game cut down the clock, and you're only going to get 5 or 6 series on the, not it's going to be more than that, but you're not going to get as many series as you can because Cleveland's going to eat up that clock like nothing, and they're going to keep your offense on the field. And I like the running game of Chubb, and Kareem Hunt, and I just think Jacoby Brissett doesn't make that mistake this game. But I don't know. It's the defense of Miami is the one that's tearing me up. That's going. Don't pick him because his defense is going to get eaten up right now.
I'm with you, Joe, and I think that the offense has enough juice to overcome this week, like they have against the Lions, like they have against the Bears. But the defense is what's standing in the way of Miami being an actual Super Bowl contender and an actual contender to dethrone the Bills. I know they beat the Bills once already this year. They've given up 38 to Baltimore, 40 to New York, 30 to Detroit, 32 to Chicago. That's not going to work in the playoffs. It just isn't. It doesn't matter how good your offense is, how many weapons you got. You're not going to win 3 games in a row and get to the Super Bowl that way. But you can win some of these regular season games against teams where if late in the game the ball goes over to Justin Fields, if late in the game the ball goes over to Jacoby Brissett, those guys need a touchdown drive to win. They don't get that touchdown drive to win, you win the game. 35-32, 38-35, whatever it might be. And that's what the Dolphins are living off of. If Tua has a bad game, they lose the game. It's going to be that simple the rest of the year, I think, for the Miami Dolphins. I'm going with the Dolphins to outscore the Browns. Let's go on here to the Houston Texans on the road in New York. All of us on the Giants. Have the Giants bought your belief, Tony, or do you just think the Texans are not quite there to play against really anyone?
Yeah, and here's my last apology of the show. It's to the New York Giants because I've been giving them shit all season long, and I realized during their bye and then watching the football last night where it's like there's ugly football and winning ugly, and I think the Giants are doing it in a way where it's like this is just coaching, and this is just going for it in the right fashion, where it's like, hey, we're undermanned maybe skill-wise defensively, so let's just be aggressive and use the athleticism that we have in the right ways. So to me, that's the Giants. And then on the offensive side of the ball, the same thing, where it's like, how can we maximize every single touch that we possibly can out of Saquon Barkley? We can't let him touch it 40 times a game, but if it's going to be 22 times a game, it doesn't all necessarily need to be draws up the middle, or sweeps to the right. Like finding ways to try and get him out in the receiving game and different ways to get him touches in the running game that are allowing him to maybe take a little less impact so he can carry and touch the ball 22 to 25 times a game. Coaching, it's great when you see it working, when you can see the success. Like you texted me last night where it was like, it looks like Arthur Smith is going to lose his freaking mind on the sideline, because I think Arthur's feeling that right now where he's like, I am coaching my ass off and I am putting this team in situations to win games 2 years in a row. Well, I am undermanned and we're not getting the results that he feels like they should be getting. And that's not been the case this year for the Giants.
And that's why patience can be key with some of these coaching situations.
Some of them. Yeah. And that's why Tony should also apologize to Danny Dimes.
And Justin Herbert, but we're going to get to that soon.
What, Tony?
Don't make me take my apology back, Joe.
Yeah.
I think the real success of the Giants this year has been the defense.
And Derek Carr is going to look great in a Giants jersey next year, by the way.
Oh, Danny Dimes for Derek Carr. That's a perfect trade.
Danny Dimes getting locked up in New York. I don't know what you're talking about. Multi-year contract. Hey, part of me thinks the Texans hang on in this game. Like it's going to be a lot closer. It's not like New York has come out and blown teams out this year. It's not like they've been blowing them out. So Texans have, for some reason, I don't know why, have been putting it on. Like they hang in games and they're not horrible. And Davis Mills has shown flashes here and there. We get Davis Mills versus Danny Dimes in this game, and you guys aren't excited about this game.
Their team is hanging on in games. They're hanging in tough. They're keeping themselves in it. But you start to see the separation in the second half. A lot of these football games, the Texans can't really do it for a full 4 quarters with good teams. And I think that the Giants are not necessarily a great team. I still think they're overperforming a little bit. They're getting carried by Saquon offensively, and I think they're being carried by the defense and the defensive scheme. It's been unbelievable what they've done to win some of these 20 to 17 games against really good football teams. So, anything else to add to this one? I want to go to Pittsburgh.
On to Pittsburgh.
We're going to Pittsburgh, where the Steelers are hosting the New Orleans Saints. The person in first place is the only one on the side with the Saints. I'm going to remain in first place this week, it looks like. But Tony, TJ Watt's return, that's enough.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's pretty easy to remain in first place when you just make your win total every week.
Well, the Steelers win, I'll be changing.
Mike Tomlin is he's a great coach coming off a bye. I don't know the exact record, but it's pretty good. They added a defensive back. His name is escaping me during the trade deadline, and they're getting back Watt potentially. What's his name?
Willie Jackson.
Willie Jackson, thank you. So I think with that time to incorporate there, that's going to help the secondary a little bit, But you know what else helps the secondary? A great pass rush. And if you can get back Watt in this situation where it's going to be maybe potentially bad, cold weather in a game where Saints, I'm not sure that it's a talent issue as much as it might be a coaching issue. Like, I look at the Saints and I'm like, what is the decision? What is the direction? What's the game plan to go in and win these games? Like, why did you let Latavius Murray go? Because you wanted to air it, like you wanted to throw the football more with Andy Dalton or James Winston. Like, I'm just not sure I understand the direction of the Saints overall. And I do know what the Pittsburgh Steelers are about and what they're going to do. This is going to be an ugly game, but I'm going to go with Kenny Pickett getting a full week in the bye to work with Pickens, Deontay Johnson. And can we see a little more Pat Fryermuth? Let's get this kid some easy throws over the middle to a big tight end that looks like he could be, a top 10 talent at the position in the league. Like, feed him the rock a little bit, make some easy throws there. I'm siding with Tomlin over Dennis Allen on this, basically.
Yeah, and I'm going with Pittsburgh because, like Tony said, T.J. Watt coming back. I don't know what his actual record is when T.J. Watt is on the field for Steelers, but it's a lot to a little. And they're not a good team without T.J. Watt on that field, not just because of what he does on the field, but his leadership. And I think working through, and they got rid of Claypool, so they had to work on their offense just a little bit. And their offensive coordinator, Matt Canada, has been under a lot of scrutiny for not throwing the ball over 10 to 15 yards. I think they get that fixed. And the New Orleans Saints, sorry, but you're not playing the fucking Raiders every week. You're not playing the Raiders every week. That's the only damn time you look good. Sean Payton's not walking through the door. Sean Payton walked through the door, told you how to beat the Raiders, and you guys beat the Raiders. After that, nothing. And that's what people were like, well, why did the Saints look good last week against the Ravens? Because it's not the goddamn Raiders. I just told you. The Raiders forgot that Alvin Kamara knew how to catch out of the backfield. Everybody else is smart enough to know that he can and that they're going to stop him. You stop AK, you stop the whole team of the New Orleans Saints. The Saints aren't a great team. They have no talent. They're rebuilding with Dennis Allen. For some reason, he made the defense go backwards this year. And I think the Pittsburgh Steelers and Mike Tomlin are just too well coached to lose to a team like the New Orleans Saints.
Look, I agree with you 100%, Joe, that the Baltimore Ravens are way better than the Las Vegas Raiders. And I agree with both of you that Mike Tomlin's a better coach than Dennis Allen. I agree that T.J. Watt coming back is a huge deal, even though they're saying he's going to be on a 50% snap count. My thought process in this game is that the Steelers will not win a game if Kenny Pickett is throwing an interception 1 every 10 passes. And he is throwing an interception 1 out of every 10 passes right now. I can't bet on him. It doesn't matter how good your defense is, receivers, none of that matters. If you throw 3 interceptions a game, 3 interceptions a half in some situations with Kenny Pickett so far this year, they ain't winning. They ain't winning. Against nobody, even the Saints. They'll win 7-0 if they have
Can't
to.
win with them. Can't do it. Nope.
On to a division rivalry game, and both of these teams' seasons are just going down the drain right now, spinning around the drain. We got the Arizona Cardinals. I don't understand this at all, Joe. I'll just be honest with you. In Los Angeles against the LA Rams. You are famous for saying fade the Cardinals, never pick the Cardinals. The Cardinals suck. And now you're picking the Cardinals.
Because I found another team that sucks even worse than the Cardinals. It's the Los Angeles Rams. They're horrible. Like, after what they did last week and how they lost to Tampa Bay, this team can't get crap going for them. And at least Arizona can at least score some points on offense. And I know Kyle Murray is now 0-2 since Call of Duty came out this year, and he has to get it going. He's fighting with his coach and his wide receivers on the sideline. What D-Hop called him out last week and asked him what the hell he's throwing it at. But come on, to put any, I can't put any ounce of faith in the Los Angeles Rams this year. Like, even Raheem Morris has come out and talked about Sean McVay and how troubling of a season it is for Sean McVay to catch himself. So I think Sean McVay is even fighting with himself, thinking about, like, damn, like, he had it so good for the first couple of years of his coaching. Now he's probably questioning himself how good he is. And I think the Rams have just lost this season. And And for me to go with Arizona, you guys know how much that hurts me. But, I mean, I could just see Arizona putting up at least 15 points and winning this game.
I personally think, Joe, that the Rams this year goes to show, and I know that you're a former offensive lineman, the offensive line is as important as any part of your football team. Because this team went from Super Bowl champion to top 10 draft pick, even though they don't have any draft picks, just off of losing their O-line.
The offensive line is the most important part of your football team. Like, even so, if you have an offensive line, you can win a lot of games with an average quarterback. You just have to have you then have the ability to run the ball, and your average quarterback has time to stand in the pocket and deliver the football. If you give a great quarterback a good offensive line, it's over with. The offensive line is just the most important part of any football team. Like, I know you knew that before this. You said that maybe I'm realizing it this year. Mike, I'm going to believe that you knew that before this segment. Because, like, it doesn't matter how great you are. Tom Brady, the greatest of all time. He can't throw the ball more than 4 or 5 yards downfield. And Matthew Stafford is like, F it. I don't care if my offensive line, I'm still going to sling it downfield, and it's causing a lot of problems for him. I was in this is the game I went to last year. It was Rams Cardinals. And Kyler Murray was dealing last year at this time. Like, he was doing whatever he wanted. They couldn't touch him. Aaron Donald was chasing him around in the backfield, and then he'd still just scamper and pick up the first down. It was one of the better quarterback performances I've ever seen live on any level. I haven't seen that at all from Kyler Murray this year. Like, he picks and chooses when he's going to use his legs, which is kind of weird. It's like, you should just be playing the game the way that's been successful for you. And it's almost as if he's like trying to prove certain things this year and being kind of defiant. Neither one of these teams is in a good situation or pretty or whatever it is. But I tend to favor the team that's like, I think has more talent on it. I just think defensively, offensively, even if they can't run the football, it won't really matter. It's going to be like a really weird, ugly scored game, 18-17 or something like that. Rams get a victory.
Yeah, and there's a stat out there, and I think that this stat should go towards the Cliff Kingsbury fire committee. I know the Arizona Cardinal fan base is not too happy with their coaching, especially this year. Since Cliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray have teamed up, the Rams have only lost to the Cardinals once. What is that, over a 4-year span? They've only lost one. The Cardinals have only won one game with Kyler Murray over the Los Angeles Rams, who have went through QB changes, draft pick trading, all this stuff. They've only won one freaking game. I don't think that they're going to win their second this weekend unless Matthew Stafford is out of this game. He is in concussion protocol. They don't know if he's going to play for sure or not. But Cardinals and the Rams, when they play each other, it just seems like the Rams have the Cardinals number. I want to see a coach that's kind of creative come in with an NFL offense and see what they can do with Kyler. And let's see if Kyler is actually a franchise quarterback or not. The Cardinals signed him prematurely, I think.
Josh McDaniels should be the coach.
I thought that was supposed to be Cliff, wasn't that? The coach you're asking for, wasn't that supposed to be Cliff Kingsbury?
Yes, but Cliff Kingsbury is running the Texas Tech offense in the NFL, and it works to move the ball, but when you get down in the red zone, this is a man versus man game. You can't run all that gadget shit.
Yeah, Tony, it's a man's game.
A man's game. The field shrinks. Kyler's got to get it in the end zone. On to a fun one, and a couple years ago, this would have been a really fun one. We got the Dallas Cowboys on the road against the Green Bay Packers. The Packers are absolutely struggling offensively. I mean, you hit an all-time low for the Packers, I think, when you lose to the Lions 15-9. Tony, you expecting this Cowboys defense and Micah Parsons to get after A-Rod?
Yeah, I think this game is going to be a blowout. Like, Fox has been trying to hype it up because it's their game of the week. They have all this rivalry renewed crap. I don't necessarily know how much of a rivalry the Packers and Cowboys. I hate the Cowboys. Like, I absolutely despise them. But they're really good at doing what they should be doing. When they play to what I think the identity of their team is, right, which is we lead with the run, we allow Dak play action off of that, and the defense is just way better than I thought. Like, Dan Quinn is going to get another job based on what is going on this season. He's going to get another chance at a head coaching position based on what's going on this year. I think this game might get really ugly to the point where Aaron, I don't know if he gets benched or if he looks over, kind of taps himself out of the game. I think we're going to get fighting. I think Jair Alexander is this close to snapping and saying, I'm tired of your shit. And you going on all your nationally syndicated YouTube shows and talking shit about the team every week. I'm tired of being in a locker room where everybody else seems to be blamed except for the guy who's making the most amount of money to pull us out of situations like this. I think this is we're gonna have a lot of fun watching the fallout from this football game, I believe.
Yeah, I don't think this game's going to be pretty or any close. And then like Tony's saying, at some point they got to put Jordan Love in the game, and they got to see what they got with him. Even look, Aaron Rodgers can blame all he wants, but and you can say the talent's not there, but you got at what point does Green Bay have to go? We have Jordan Love. We're either going to move on with Jordan Love, and we're gonna trade him next year. But you got to get the trade value out there too. So even if you're going to keep Rodgers, this is a wasted year. Put him out there either way, and letting him piss off more teammates or not. You're not running the plays that everybody thought you were going to do. Just go to the running plays and get it done. And tell them that we're trying not to hurt Rodgers for the future. I don't know what the hell you want to do, but Rodgers has looked like crap too. He looks like crap too, and he's putting all this blame on his wide receivers, on his rookie wide receivers for all this. But it's just the fact of the matter is, he thinks he's better than the head coach. He's always had beef with LaFleur, and it's just coming to a head now.
Yeah,
when you win, you cover up a lot of shit. Now you're not winning, so.
Yeah, we're seeing like the object in motion stays in motion, right? They're just rolling downhill, and it's just getting worse and worse with every week. Rodgers is not playing great. The receivers aren't playing great, and you put all that together, and it's a shit show in Green Bay. And if Rodgers is going to keep playing football, he needs to leave, and they need to split ways and go whichever directions they want to go, whether it's Jordan Love or another quarterback. I think that this Cowboys defense is gonna get after the Packers offense. And I think Dak will have a good game too. Go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, I do too. That's why I picked him up in fantasy. Thanks for dropping him in the Dynasty League. I would like to say this lastly to Joe. Giving me a lot of crap because I was hyping up the Packers defense. Their defense, even with all of the injuries, has actually played really good. But you can only play good for so long when your offense is constantly going 3 and out. Yeah. So I do think that the defense is on track to where I thought that they would be this year. It's the fact that the offense has not shown up. And I think that is one of the biggest issues with the team is that every week it's like, well, why aren't we winning these games? And nobody is allowed to say, oh, because the offense stinks, because it's led by the person who is in constant control of this organization.
Yep.
Joe, I got a question. It's the day after the season has ended. Aaron Rodgers announced that him and the Green Bay Packers are parting ways, and Rodgers is officially going to be on the trade market. Do the Raiders send in the package or no?
No.
I think him and Tay would be pretty back to normal if they team up.
I don't know. Something like Tony said, I don't like it. I don't like that he's going out there and doing the Pat McAfee show every Tuesday. What other quarterback can get away with doing stupid shit like that?
Tom Brady. That's it.
But even if you listen, so Brady's been doing that show with Jim Gray forever after the losses. He does not get into the specifics of what's going on in the organization the way that Pat does. Like, it's already like Aaron has decided, I'm just going to be an entertainer. I'm going to be a rabble-rouser. I'm going to instigate stuff, outside of it. And it's okay to do it when your team is going to be 13-4 every season. But when you could be 4-13, you're playing with other people's livelihoods. And like the perception of what's going on with the organization, a lot of these people aren't making $50 million this year and are trying to get to a next contract and trying to make sure that they have to fight. They can't quit. They have to put good tape out there for their next position and what it is. And that's why Devontae Adams was like, I'm out of here, bro, because I don't know what's going on with you. I don't know if you are even going to play multiple seasons. I don't know what's going to happen with everything. Like, the Packers could be a little bit better even if they had him, but we're starting to see like this thing was kind of out of the cards, and other teams around them were catching up to what was going on.
Yeah.
And I think that's an important note to point out that there is a difference between, like, Josh Allen goes on a weekly show, I think, after the games with Brant, and I think Joe Burrow goes on with Collinsworth. You watch those interviews; those are like typical interviews. They're asking Joe Burrow about what he's seeing on this play. Aaron Rodgers is on the Pat McAfee show just talking shit. He's just talking shit.
Yeah.
He's just talking shit right after a game, and they're losing a bunch of games this year. It's not the best look. You saw Micah Parsons. He was lined up with, was it Skip Bayless on their show? And after they lost the first couple weeks, he said, I'm not doing it. I'm done.
But also, like, Aaron Rodgers speaks as if he's removed from the situation. Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Tom Brady, these guys are going on and saying, we are doing this, we're doing this. And then he goes, I think they're doing this thing. It's like, you're the central piece. What do you mean you think? You either know this shit is going on or you don't. I think this about the dynamic between whatever. It's like, there's no better source than the guy who's essentially the owner of the Green Bay Packers. And you're the owner by holding him hostage.
Yeah, and
I thought Aaron Rodgers was the owner of the Bears.
Oh no! Oh yeah, that's true. And Justin,
he owns a lot. He owns the Bucs, the Bears, the Lions, the Vikings, the Cowboys. He's 7-2 against the Cowboys. Cowboys are coming for something, and I know their fans are hoping this thing is a rout.
I think it fits the Pat McAfee show perfect. Rodgers fits in with that crew and that talk, and it is a cool little look behind the scenes at his life. But if he's done playing football and he doesn't. He's more about the Pat McAfee crew. Go be a part of the Pat McAfee crew.
Yeah.
He's a perfect dynamic because Pat's big and energy and all that, and Pat kind of plays like the Dumbo, even though he's like a super smart guy. And Aaron Rodgers is very low key. I'm aloof. I'm an intellectual. Like, it's so you get this thing where it's like you can't have two guys that are rah, 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 rah. Yeah. So they balance each other. It's dynamic television. You don't need that shit right now, Rodgers, and neither does the rest of your team.
Television will be there the rest of your life. Anyways, let's move on to the next game here. Green Bay Packers absolutely falling apart. Indianapolis Colts on the road in Las Vegas. I'm shocked. I have seen nothing but negativity about this Raiders team, and y'all just pick them week after week after week after week. I know I picked them last week, and I took the L, but I'm learning my lesson and going back against the Raiders again. Tony, come on, man.
Okay. If Josh McDaniels loses this game at home, I believe he will be fired. Like, I just think, look at what's going on with the Colts situation. They pulled their head coach out of his man cave and put him on the sideline. They have a first-time offensive play caller. They're going to start a quarterback who might not even be a backup in this league in a couple of years. Like, they are going into a situation that is so, like, out of the norm. And if they find a way to lose to a team like this at home, it's completely embarrassing. And I know that, like, the Mark Davis is not Al Davis, but I do think at a certain point he will find some of the volatile tendencies that his dad seemed to show towards the end there, and just be like, how many times is he going to call him in to have a conversation before he just goes, we can't have this shit. And we got players starting to talk about each other a little bit more, where like Devontae Adams is starting to say some stuff like, bro, I'm only going to get 4 targets a year if you think the only time you could throw to me is when I'm in single coverage. So, like, now he's starting to say, we know exactly what that means, and we're not even in the locker room. He's saying you cannot be afraid to throw to me in these type of situations, and that I think that some of the success we're not having is because of the leader of our football team. And honestly, I can't wait to cheer for Derek Carr and another team because I really like him. But like this Colts organization, right, should be this should not be a football game. I don't care if you're without Waller. I don't care if you're without Renfro. This shouldn't be. This should not be a good 4 days to prepare for this, Mike. 4 days to prepare for this game. The Raiders should not lose this game, and if they do, I believe shit's going to hit the fan big time. Quarterback change, coaches fired, something. Raiders cannot lose this game. Now, I want the Raiders to get their asses kicked by the Fighting Saturdays, right? I want Saturday winning, and I want them to win on Sunday. I want it all. I want the Raiders to get destroyed in this game. They can't, and I do not think they will.
Yeah, if the Raiders lose this week, that Allegiant Stadium is going to be on fire. It's going to be a riot, and there's going to be – I don't even think Mark Davis makes it out of that stadium without the fans going crazy. Like, that's how bad it is. And, like Jim Irsay's been quoting Al Davis all week, and, the 3 words that Al Davis is known for is, fuck the Colts is what I've always heard. I don't know. I'm just making that shit up. But, yeah, it's good. If somehow the Colts pull this win out of their ass, like somehow Jeff Saturday comes in here and gets them ready for this damn game, I don't know. Like, congrats to him. Like, then Jim Irsay is not the drunk that we thought he was. Like, we think that Jim Irsay is some god after this if somehow Saturday comes in and does this. But it's going to be embarrassing. I don't even know if I could come on and talk football if the Raiders lose this game. And the Raiders are like both these teams are like both giving up on the season already, right? The Raiders just had Martinez retire yesterday. They gave it the Adams. They cut Adams. They put Hunter Renfro or not Adam or Abrams. They put Hunter Renfro and Darren Waller on the IR. It's like they go, hey, let's give Josh McDaniels every excuse to not win this year, but there's no excuse to losing to a guy who's was 3-7 as a high school fucking football coach, right? That Peyton Manning told this dumbass, shut up and be a center. Shut up and be a center. But Jeff Saturday was a center for who? Peyton Manning and Brett Favre? Is that who it was? Or Peyton Manning and who?
Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers. So he has good backing, but come on. Holy shit. If I hope Devontae Adams just decks somebody if worse than the camera guy the other day if they lose this game.
Yeah, I'm telling you right now, I'm not taking the Colts against the rest of the NFL. I'm only taking the Colts against the Las Vegas Raiders. All those things that we said applied in the Jaguars game. And they had a 17-point lead that they blew in that game. It's a battle of the moment. Dysfunction versus dysfunction meets this week. I'll take the dysfunction that's good for my brand.
Yes, which is great, and I love that you're doing this because I should pick up a win this week on this one, and Joe should get another. But it's not the level of dysfunction that is happening with the Colts organization is like 5 years in a row now. Like this is what we've seen with not zeroing in on the quarterback, and it torpedoed what could have been good drafts by Ballard and good coaching by Frank Reich. Like, let's just say neither one of those, they were elite at their jobs. They were still above average at their jobs, and they have not very much to show for it. And this situation is the perfect one for Jeff Saturday because he's coming in, he's getting a team that's headed in the wrong direction, and all he has to do is be the rah-rah guy. All he's got to do is give one great speech. And if he hits them hard enough in the first quarter with Jonathan Taylor bust a 74-yard TD run, now all of a sudden the team looks around and they're like, because there's a lot of talent on the Colts. A lot. All right, I just talked myself into it. Let's go, Jeff Saturday.
That's what I'm saying.
Let's not kid yourself, Tony. Tomorrow Mike's going to come out with some TikTok video. Like, I listened to the people, and the people want me to switch my pick to the Raiders.
This one's staying because I think the one strength of hiring, just simply going out and finding the best player that will agree to coach. I'm sure they went to Peyton Manning. I'm sure they went to other players. They found the best one they could from their past. Having a player coach, he will let the talent play. That is the one thing he's going to do. And it feels like Josh McDaniels is doing the opposite of that and trying to get the talent to fit into his scheme. Jeff Saturday is going to let these guys play. And the Colts are going to win this freaking game. And the Raiders are either going to be firing their head coach or benching their starting quarterback. I don't know which one. Which one do you think is more likely? One of those two things is going to happen. Joe, which one's more likely after this loss? Firing or benching?
Firing.
I think that's.
But I've always said that if you fire Josh McDaniels, Derek Carr is going with him.
But if you bench Derek Carr, then Josh McDaniels stays. That sounds like the best scenario.
Yeah, because they're gonna. If Josh McDaniels doesn't get fired, they're gonna. The scapegoat is who? Derek Carr. You might as well go with both of them.
Something's clearly not working because last year, you can say whatever you want about this year and all the turmoil they've overcome. Last year, they had a player who was involved in one of the most horrific accidents in season that I can remember, right? Like, I don't really remember, like, derail a lot of teams. The Arnett thing, the other picks not working out, John Gruden and everything that went on there. And they put the special teams coach, which, by the way, I think kind of a dark horse for the Colts job, but we'll talk about that on another show. Rich Bisaccia and Derek Carr did one of the most impressive things I've ever seen last year, and this year they can't hold a 17-point lead. How does that happen? With more talent,
Philosophy too. I think philosophy has a lot to do with it too.
You mean the team can't put it? The team can't play 4 quarters, Tony. NFL players forget that there's 4 quarters in a game, according to Josh McDaniels.
Well, I think that they can
4 quarters in $1 and 4 in the NFL game.
But there is a difference definitely between those 4 quarters and how hard the team was playing for Bisaccia versus McDaniels. It's clear. Anyways, you guys are
that's a good meme. Has anybody done that yet? Made a meme where you put like a $1 bill and then you only put 3 quarters back and say this is how the Raiders give change to a $1 bill, 3 quarters. That's like a good. What do they call it? Meme? Yeah, there's something there. Make that.
Might happen. Yeah, you guys are gonna massively regret this. I'm going up another game this game, and I'm going up another game in the Sunday night game. The Chargers beat the Niners. Tony, actually, before we get your prediction, I would like for another apology on this show. One last apology to Justin Herbert, because who did you take last week, Tony? Did you take the Falcons or the Chargers last week?
I took the Falcons last week, and I will not apologize. I will not apologize for this one because I wanted the Chargers to win. And you and I have spoke privately about this and talked about the luck factor that was involved in getting that win. Now, here's the thing that I would like people to start noticing is because they always say that the Chargers are this team that's like, jinxed or cursed or whatever. I don't really believe in that kind of bullshit for NFL teams because there's so much stuff that goes involved into what's going on. Just 53 players to begin with. But all the little bounces have been starting to go their way. Getting through a game with a kicker who's like gotten, the quad's about to separate from the bone. And, now you get that miraculous fumble that happened at the end of that football game by the Falcons player, which is great. The missed kick in the Browns game, like things are starting to fall in favor of the Chargers. With that being said, every single matchup in this game, outside of the quarterback matchup, is in favor of the San Francisco 49ers. And there's no way that if I'm picking the Falcons to beat the Chargers, I can't on the road, off a bye, Storm Norton possibly starting at tackle, almost guaranteed to play no matter what, against Nick Bosa. I don't like that matchup. No Keenan, no Mike, no Joey, no all these players. It has to be a perfect game. And I just don't think the Chargers have a perfect football game in them. Perfect. It's like perfect game. And I don't think they have it.
Joe, I'm going to clip up in here because this is pre-recorded and I have the ability to do it and I have all the control of the editing. I'm going to put in here all that shit you talked about the Niners all year and then let you go ahead and give your take. But go ahead. Let them know why the Niners are winning this week.
This is the Super Bowl champion San Francisco 49ers. I'm crowning them. Put the motherfucking crown on the 49ers today because they're going all the way. CMC, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel. Who else they got over there? Kittle is back to 100%. Jimmy G is the GOAT again. This San Francisco team is so damn good that nobody, not even the mighty Chargers, have a chance against them on a Sunday night here in November when this team is destined for greatness, Tony. Destined to win a champ. Probably we could probably crown them for the next 3 or 4 years with the roster they got now. With the way CMC, did you guys not watch CMC last time? He threw for a pass, ran for a touchdown, threw for a touchdown, ran for a touchdown, and caught one. You don't think he's going to do that 2 times against? He's going to have to triple crown 2 times against the Chargers. That's how great this team is. You guys are just going to be like so far, you're going to get so tired of hearing CMC's name on Sunday that you guys are going to just turn the TV off and you're going to dream about CMC all week because of how great this 49er team is. Like, I'm looking at both of them and I go, this could be – like everybody's talking about the Bills and the Vikings. This right here is your Super Bowl preview. What are we doing? We have this on Sunday night and we're talking about Bills and Vikings when we have these 2 gigantic, great, historic franchises going at each other. Woo! Can't wait.
That just made me sick. I
don't know, Mike.
I don't think I can give my take now with how sick that made me feel. Tony, I agree with you. The Chargers stand no chance in this game. They're mismatched across the board. Our offense is too conservative. Our defense gives up the run. We're playing the best O-line in football with the best running back in football. We stand no chance in this game unless curses are actually real. And that guy behind you, that one behind you, not 13-10, has broken that curse. And the tide has turned. The Chargers are going to start getting lucky, and we're going to get lucky in this game. It's going to be close, and Herbert's going to put it together at the end. Call me a fucking homer. I'll wear the helmet as you do it. There you go.
Number 10, the most overrated quarterback in the league.
Call me a homer. Call me a homer. And, Joe, I swear, you better say the same shit about the Niners every week for the rest of this damn season. Tony, you picked the Raiders like 4 times this year. You got more faith in the Raiders than you do the freaking Chargers?
You're taking that overrated quarterback, Justin Herbert?
The 49ers got blown out by the Falcons 2 weeks ago. And we beat them. 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, when the Niners were hurt and they were down on their luck.
First team in the history of football. And they beat them. Fuck the 49ers.
Which Boza's better?
Huh?
Which Boza is better? Nick or Joey?
Joey.
Hell no.
Well, Joey said Nick was better, so I'll go with Joey's.
Mike McClinchy came out this week and he apologized to San Francisco fans for San Francisco taking him over Derwin James.
But here's my question, Joe. How did the Chargers do against Myles Garrett? How many QB pressures did he have?
I don't know. I don't pay attention to Myles Garrett.
What happened?
I only watch Myles Garrett. Only interests me when he's playing Mason Rudolph. The only time I want to watch Myles Garrett.
What happened in the game when the Chargers played Nick Chubb? Dub. Like, we've already beaten this team before. It's just little pieces of it in each other team.
This is CMC. I've been looking on TikTok. I've been watching everywhere. 49er fans said this CMC is right. Like, there's Jesus and CMC right here. Like, I don't know what the hell your deal is, Mike. Like, Jesus walked on water and CMC's doing the same damn thing.
So 49ers are going to win the Super Bowl this year.
They might win 2 or 3 this year. I didn't know it was possible to win multiple Super Bowls in 1 year, but the way that they're talking about this team, it's going to happen.
I can't wait for Jimmy G to throw 3 interceptions on his 15 passes on Sunday night. Let's go on to the final game. Remember, guys, the Washington Commanders ended the Steelers' undefeated streak a couple years ago, and a lot of Washington Commander fans have been bringing up that fact this week. I don't think it's going to happen, though. What do you think, Tony?
Okay, so I did say that I was going to pick Taylor Heineke off of a bad performance against the Vikings to beat the Eagles. I didn't do my research. I did not know that this game was in Philadelphia. I thought the first game, doesn't matter, that they played was in Philadelphia. But
Just stick with it, Tony.
The Eagles. Stick with what?
The Commanders.
Ride with the Commanders. Switch to this one. This will be my one switch of the week. The Eagles are. You know what? I don't even want to talk about this. I don't want to talk about it. Next. Who's next, Joe?
I got you, Tony. I got you. I think that the Eagles are going to win, even though the Commanders' defense has been playing really good lately and keeping them in games. And Tyler Heineke's been performing miracles in the fourth quarter, other than in last week's game where he actually absolutely sold the game. The Eagles can beat the Commanders in multiple ways. They can run the ball. They can throw the ball. They can get into a defensive battle with the Commanders. They're prepared for any type of football game that's going to come their way in this division rivalry matchup, and they're prepared to go to 9-0. I'm looking at that Cowboys game, and I'm looking at the two Giants games, and if the Eagles can win those games, they got a shot to go undefeated. And I hope it happens because I'm a big fan of witnessing history. I don't prey on teams' downfall unless it's that team.
Yeah, I just don't think Washington has what it takes to beat the Eagles. And the Eagles, aren't they coming off a bye week too? Looking good.
I think so, yeah.
Wait, I thought they played last Thursday night. Didn't they play against
Okay,
the
so they have
Texans,
10 days.
They play
So
the Texans.
Essentially a bye, yeah. And then they get the
Yeah,
extra day, because I think you were complaining about that. You said, I don't like it when teams get games on Thursday and they get the Monday night game or whatever.
Yeah, it seems like it's happening more and more, and it's happening for good teams that they're getting those extra days of rest. And I don't know, the Eagles, there's one way I think, and I'm going to stand by this, that the way to beat the Eagles, and Washington can do it because they have they have guys that can catch out of the backfield, especially J.D. McKissick, that you throw out to the side of the defense, and you put those cornerbacks one-on-one with the running back, and you've seen it. You saw where Benjamin did it with the Cardinals, and they put up, they lost. It was 28-21 in that game, where you got to attack the outside of that defense. You got to get outside of the 8, and he got to hit those sidelines. And I really think Washington could do it if they wanted to. You saw it a little bit with a couple teams. They just didn't do it enough. And Washington is that gritty team for some reason that sticks around in some of these games. But in all reality, the Eagles should come out and blow this game out of the water.
I do want to give you some credit, though, Tony, because Washington is only a gritty team when number 4 is in. So, congrats.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I might fall to the hype Monday, and I might pick the Commanders.
Monday night, you gonna change it right for the game?
Yeah, let this weekend go crumble like my technology and my computer situation, and I'll just F it. Taking Taylor Heineke on Monday Night Football.
Heineke season.
Considering by Monday Night Football, Joe's gonna be down like another 2 games to me because the Raiders and Chargers game, and Tony, you're gonna be down another 2 games to me because the Raiders Chargers game. So you guys are gonna
be down 4 by the way you switch them.
Gonna need to catch up. I'll tell you right now, Joe, ahead of time. I'm thinking about switching the Rams game if Stafford is out.
Well, Kyle Murray might be out too.
Oh, if they're both out, then I don't know what the fuck to do.
He's
John Wolford.
Yeah, then I'm probably sticking
during Call of Duty.
That's the only one. A little bit on the Broncos game too, but I think I'm gonna stick with Tennessee because the Broncos just.
Because they're the only 10 you see. Tennessee.
Appreciate everyone tuning in this week. We know it was lengthy. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you came from TikTok, from seeing the clips that I'm sure I posted, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications. This is our YouTube channel. We talk football all week, every week, and we'll be talking football into the offseason and for future years. Hope you guys enjoyed the show today. Anything else, Tony, Joe, to add before we sign off?
No, go Spartans. My nephew's playing at SoFi in the Super Bowl in about an hour and a half.
Go Spartans. Joe?
No, let's get Tony going.
Yeah. Have fun, Tony, at SoFi Stadium. If anything funny happens, you better capture it on video. Catch you guys next week on the Videos show. Oh, yeah, also, enter the challenge. The link's in my bio and all my social media platforms. The link's in the description. Go submit your picks. You missed Thursday Night Football, but it's not too late. See you guys later. Joe's about to give you guys something after I hit the music.
Super Bowl preview. Chargers, 49ers.